Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, my gamers muñaños. This is Jesus from Jesus Gaming and Podcast. Today we have a double-header episode, and I know that I shouldn't stray away from what is gaming content creation, or gaming commentary at all, but I think that I have to give my 25 cents in this trend on YouTubers, as I consider myself a content creator, and basically is one big topic that has been plaguing the internet since last year, and I think that I should discuss a little bit. And then returning to gaming topics, Ubisoft once again doing Ubisoft, and the gaming perspiration and physical medium is at more dangers than ever. Well, without further ado, let's get started. All right. As I said at the beginning of the episode, and thank you to sticking in, by the way. Thank you very much for your support. I think that this is the first time that I'm going to stray away from gaming content as a starter. But I think that I shouldn't just ignore what is happening since last year. For those who are living in the rock or haven't taken notice, even if you're a YouTube fan, many big players of YouTubers, and not your average content creator, is like people that had been since the heydays of social media of the last decade until the very last year, 2023. They just decided to quit YouTube at all, regardless that YouTube is their main income, that YouTube is their main job. And one big question that has been raised in the internet is why? And the second is, if they are making a living out of YouTube, what went wrong that it was worthy to just abandon it all and just calling it quit? Since last week, as of the recording of this podcast, there has been some rationality within content creators that are continuously doing content. Other big players of YouTube, not saying that they're quitting, but also giving their own 25 cents. And I think I have to agree that the main reason that this is happening is that many YouTubers practically they're feeling this weird or rare type of burnout. It's not that they're getting tired of doing content in the sense that they're out of ideas. I think that, well, I said that I will say that I will give what the consensus was, but I think that I'm gonna mix the consensus with what I think is the main problem. And as parents for YouTubers, or having YouTube as your main income, your main job, whatever you want to call it, I think that you have to pay pretty big attention here. Basically, big YouTubers that are calling it quit is that it's not that they're lacking of ideas. It's not that they don't have plan A or plan B or plan C about their content. It seems that the complete reason or the consensus is that the YouTube as your main income and YouTube as your main job, and you being your own boss, is like a newest roadblock in the meaning that there's a point that you don't know if you're really nailing it in your content. And that's the consensus. Now I'm going with what are my 25 cents about this notion. I think that YouTubers that call it quit, they are burned out because as they are their own boss, and probably they're having like a small team of production or post-production for every video, objectively and creatively, they don't know where to draw the line when they're doing great, where they could do better. Being yourself your own judge is not always a good thing to do. You need an objective ear, an objective eye, or a creative subjectiveness from other people's. And some of the creators appears that they just don't know how to or the line that they're doing a great job, or their craft is getting low on standards or getting high on standard, even so, is getting a big blurry. And added to the mix that yes, they're living through YouTube videos, and that's the danger about not knowing when you're doing right or wrong. Is the quality of your videos will practically means that you are doing it wrong, and doing it wrong means that the quality goes low, and hence means less viewership, and hence means less monetization. And that's a big risk that I think, and my view on this is that many YouTubers just aspire to, yeah, I landed a big opportunity on YouTube. I got sponsorship. I got even YouTube as my main income. Practically, I had to work just 2 videos per week, and I already got my monthly budget of house spending, food, everything that I need to take care of for myself and my family, thanks to YouTube. But the biggest thing is that, to me, it seems that they just thought in the reaching on the YouTube supremacy. They didn't thought in the long term about the YouTube power, if you will. I think that maybe in the short term, of course, when you reach to a level of, I'm sorry, I'm speaking like I have reached that kind of thing. I haven't even reached monetization. I'm still recording this, but I have been studying the game, as all content creators should do, is study the games. And that is why last year I had a content creation hiatus, because the more I learn about the game, the more frustrated I got. So there you have myself as an example. But I think the big creators that call it a quit really didn't thought on the long term. Maybe they thought on the short term, obviously organizing things and making the proper budget for personal spending, what needed to go to the bank as a savings for any emergencies, and what can go to reinvest on your content. That's the short terms on thinking about having YouTube as your main income or your main job. But you have to think about the long term. You have to think about when you need to reinvent yourself, reinvest and reinvent yourself. When your content needs to reach a new level, when your content needs to be reviewed not just by yourself or your team, probably even your own audience can no longer be a proper feedback for your content. And this was led to me, that's what led on some of the biggest YouTubers quitting. And I'm gonna name one that really surprised me, that he actually quit. Seth Everman is this content creator, famously known as the bald pianist. The guy is really talented musically. He's a gamer. And since early 2023, he was already giving signals and then directly saying that in 2023, he will be quitting YouTube, where he actually did. He did like a 6-hour streaming, answering questions, which pretty much, it can summarize that the whole YouTube machinery just burned him out. And I think he's the prime example of why not thinking about, or truly and objectively thinking about the long term of YouTube as a main job could affect you, because he admitted that since a few years ago, he was just living off of YouTube, but he felt like personally he was limited on thinking what he will do next on YouTube, what he will do next personally. And being a content creator began to affect his personal life, to the point that he even moved away from he was living, where he actually was doing all his content. And basically he went to, and you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I think that he went a few steps backwards and rented an apartment like he was a university student, or went back to the late teen, early adults that you go and find your own place and you go to the first apartment that is feasible and balanced between being comfy and being good economically speaking. So I was pretty surprised that said Everman uh, didn't have this kind of a joke or maybe a prank about quitting YouTube. Which, by the way, that's the other thing about what's going on in YouTube. There has been I don't want to call it conspiracy. I will call it like a theory, a general theory that big YouTubers quitting on YouTube is actually a new meta that they're trying to do and have all these video as a new trend on YouTube. Uh, Much like the metas that both Twitch and Kicks have been trying to do. Well, in YouTube land, YouTubers quitting is kind of a new niche or a new trend to actually have videos monetizing. I think it's plausible in the way that those videos are obviously monetizing, and of course they are entitled to monetize their goodbye. But I don't think that this should be a trend because you know that you're doing a quitting video, or at least that you give the notion that you're actually quitting and you're not calling a timeout or indefinite hiatus, like in my case, or you're not giving a reason or make a space that you'll be returning eventually. If you do a video saying goodbye and this is it, you shouldn't expect that people welcome you back if you return the saying, "Hey, I made up my mind. I'm sorry about that video," because that will be a credibility problem. In my opinion, that will create a big credibility problem, and I don't think that that's a play that you want to do if you're a big creator and you suddenly calling it quit to just coming back within the year or between 6 months and a year saying, "Hey, I was just making up my mind. The whole machinery had me burn out. That wasn't the lie, but I'm here. I'm back." No, I want to think that this is not a trend for just making a new meta in YouTube and making it harder already for small YouTubers. Which, by the way, this might sound tasteless, but yeah, this is a big opportunity for small YouTubers or small to medium YouTubers are nailing it, but they need some roadblock out of the way. Well, I think that the biggest streamer from each category that you are in, gaming included, I think this is a new opportunity. Or maybe we could see it like this is an evolution if we are talking about each third or fourth year of every decade. It's like a transition period of the internet, including YouTube content creation. Because, by the way, between 2012 and 2014, I think it was the heyday of content creation and gaming creation. It was the time that gaming streaming began to be feasible, and the big players that are today began starting in and making some big noise. So I wanted to say, or I want to believe that this is a new or a transitional period where we're going to have new, bigger YouTubers, bigger Twitch, bigger Kicks, biggers, whatever you want to call, or whatever you're watching your favorite streamer. So I think that, and I'm going to close the topic with this: small and medium YouTubers, study the game, keep studying the game, keep studying every changes that YouTube announces, and don't stick with whatever you heard last year as the tips for growing up in YouTube. Ignore it, because YouTube is ever changing. The algorithm, the almighty algorithm, and already work on 2023 has a big chance that it won't work on 2024. So that was my take on this topic. So basically, big YouTubers quitting. I hope it's not a trend just to move the needle, because again, that will bring credibility problem. Um, Let me know in the comment what's your thoughts about this situation. If you're a small or medium YouTuber that actually give him a chance and the opportunity to be the audience for this podcast, let me know what you think and what's going to be your gameplay. It doesn't have to be if you're a gamer or video games, whatever niche you are or category you're doing content, let me know. So finally, we reached in the gaming part of the podcast, which is supposed to be the whole thing that I needed to mention about the YouTube saga. But let's return for what we are. We are just gaming here, and I know that I'm doing a gaming preservation complete topic kind of an episode, but I think that Ubisoft really forcing me to talk about gaming preservation and physical mediums, that it is on its greatest danger as ever since its existence. And ironically, it all happens because Ubisoft announces a new Ubisoft Plus premium tier, which basically house all the premiums or all the tiers beside the OG original one, which only give you access now to 50 games. All the goodies, including selected Amazon Luna games, Xbox games. Early access to newest game is now in a new Ubisoft Plus premium tier for $17.99 per month. But that wasn't the unpleasant surprise of the announcement. By the way, you can still access the Ubisoft Plus via the PlayStation Plus Premium. And there you go, the Plus collection of everything plus. Jesus Christ. Anyways, the news here is that, and I can't understand Mr. Philippe Tremblay, who is actually in charge of everything that go with subscription with Ubisoft, defending the entrance of subscription systems. And I will quote what he said here. He said to game industry, "One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that has been a bit slower to happen in-game. As gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That has not been deleted. You don't lose what you built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game." And I close the quote. Feeling comfortable with not owning your game. Wow, it reminds me about the Google Stadia debate. And I am a pro physical medium, but I was and I'm still am a fan of Google Stadia, except is vice president of then Phil Harrison. But Stadia was the most unfriendly thing about physical medium. But the formula was maybe like Philippe Tremblay put it, that you still have your game, it is accessible, and you have your file and everything, and you could take it out, because that's how I got my original save of Cyberpunk 2077 when I shift from Stadia version to PC. But the problem is that Stadia was one big example, and the media library of Sony Interactive Entertainment that was accessible via PlayStation was removed a few weeks or a few months ago before the recording of this, as a second example on why digital-only distribution is not a safe place for any kind of media, music, ebooks, movies, video games. And in that particular case of Sony PlayStation, it was movies. So Sony didn't care that you pay for some movies, or maybe because you love having a PlayStation not only as a game console, but as a set-top box for entertainment for your home. Sony didn't, to my best knowledge, Sony didn't make some replacement or made some makeup things to people that actually invested in media in that platform. And just because we are a new generation, or maybe in their metrics, it wasn't justifiable to continue having servers turn on. They just retired the service. So I think that Felix Tremblay's notion is true in some aspect, but for the convenience and for the interest of the consumer, is not the best way. And again, I get it. I get it that he as an executive need to protect his job. His job is to sell as much as subscription he can for Ubisoft, in this case, Ubisoft Plus. But to think that people are really abandoning physical medium, I think the only ones that are abandoning physical mediums, it first began with the PC gaming world back in the mid of 2000s, when Valve nailed it with Steam as a much better as a storefront for games rather than just a in-house launcher for Half-Life games and Global Strike, etc. I think that Felix Tremblay needed to use a better defense and not just go valiantly believing that people are happy that physical media is disappearing, much less that you're not entitled to own a game. So why we are paying $50, $60, $70? And by the way, this generation has already headed to the $70. We went backward in terms of game value versus what we are presented when a game launches, because game needs updates. In my opinion, console and PC has a blurred line in difference, because games now to be installed needs to be patched, needs to have day one updates, they need fixes. At least until PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube era, your game was complete. While there were notables, error and kind of thing, it wasn't big to affect the experience of the gamers. There were just games that sucks and games that were good. That's it. Plain and simple. Now we got PC and consoles behaving like PC, and you got the industry talking about eliminating physical mediums. I will say that I will be completely at ease if this was only Ubisoft via his subscription executive Philippe Tremblay is just talking. But last year, after it was heavily rumored that Best Buy confirmed that they will be stopped selling movies, and eventually they're going to phase out physical video games. At Walmart, that already plans to phase out Xbox physical games. They haven't said anything about Nintendo and PlayStation, but let's be honest and let's get real. They're next in line, and is the same excuse or justification is that people are just buying more things digitally. And I deny that this is something that is just a cultural rethinking or a change of mindhood. Is that yesterday's kids that are now teens, and yesterday teens that maybe got raised by the internet, maybe they don't see it as a bad thing to just buy things on digital platforms or digital stores. They don't feel the value that, I don't know, I don't want to sound boomer or like a first gen millennial, but if you have seen my streams of 2022, and actually it got bigger, but you can see my gaming library, including my books, my movies and video games from PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. Now he has grown with some GameCube, Xbox 360 games, and now with PlayStation 5. In the atmosphere, yes, my library has got bigger. And I understand that since PlayStation 4 and Xbox One having a Blu-ray is just mean that you're having a Blu-ray capable of holding 200 gigabytes of data. Most of them just include the freaking license, and most of the games you needed to download. And the only difference that you can see in an installation physical versus in a digital, I think that Nintendo Switch still makes some difference. The Switch cartridges hold the minimum data for the game to be bootable in the Nintendo Switch, Everything else needs to be downloaded via the internet. And yes, there's a difference because I already make the experiment in my Nintendo Switch, and I saw a difference between the complete digital version of a game. So I think that pretty much Nintendo's still justifying in big aspect or in a bigger part the physical gaming or physical mediums are feasible. And of course, in a Nintendo Switch case, it's feasible because of the size of an installed game with physical cartridges versus 100% digital media. But you want to prove on why Philly Tremblay just shoot out to nowhere defending that people need to be comfortable not only their games? It was reported actually by game industry that Ubisoft shares fell by 12% by the end of last week. And this wasn't, or at least if I were a Ubisoft executive, I wouldn't be happy because it was the launch week of Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. And the game did good in sales. Also, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I'm sorry, I'm reading my notes while I'm talking here. And to have both games launch and doing better than other game launches of Ubisoft, and you see your shares falling by 12%, and is the investors didn't like Philip Tremblay way to sell why we should consider Ubisoft Plus Premium from everything else just because we no longer need to own games and we have to be comfortable. I think that Philip Tremblay's statement obviously caused a slump in Ubisoft's share price. Some said that it's remained unclear, but to me, yeah, everything that you say, not necessarily the 100% or the complete stockholders or shareholders might share that sentiment, and I think that Philip Tremblay did really mess up there. I think that gamers shouldn't be forced, but being realistic, I think that by next generation, digital store is going to be the only way to go. I will discuss it later, but in the Developer Direct 24th of Xbox, one of the main launches is Senua Saga's Hellblade 2. And we were surprised not only that the game might probably take 8 hours to complete, and I hope that it's only the main lore of the game, and maybe doing side things can add more playing time for the game, is that the game will be a digital only release at $50, suggest a retail price if you are not on Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate. It will be a $50 games that you will not have physically. As far as I heard, there won't be a premium edition. There won't be a collector's edition that could have a figure or a statue of Senua. No, it's just a digital release, pretty much like Alan Wake 2, which, by the way, Alan Wake 2 digital only release took many by surprise. And I think that's a message that by 2028 or 2029, when we are begin talking about the PlayStation 6 or the Xbox successor to the Series S and X, we probably are in for the first generation that will be less focused on physical medium at best. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts about this daring thing that Philip Tremblay just said. Do you believe that physical media shouldn't disappear? Should I delve in a future episode about gaming preservation and gaming in physical medium, or should I make a joint doubleheader episode like I did at this? Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button to be aware for everything new content, including non-podcast, gaming content, and more episodes for the future. If you are seeing this on YouTube podcast, of course, if you are hearing this from the audio-only version, thank you so much for the support on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Catbox, Radio Republic, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and whenever you are hearing this podcast. Thank you so much for your support. This was Jesus Run, Jesus Gaming and Podcast. Have a good one, health and success. Thank you very much.